Hello, and welcome to the Scott Mize Show, a podcast focused on health, diet, bodybuilding, and philosophy. I interview experts, doctors, coaches, and N=1 case studies to answer your questions about improving health, achieving your best physique, and making sustainable progress. We'll cover topics from carnivore and ketogenic diets to bodybuilding to life philosophy and everything in between. Enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by LMNT Electrolytes. This month, we're switching it up with an exclusive offer that's only for VIP LMNT partners, including Carnivore Cast listeners. You can now receive this free sample pack along with any regular purchase when you use my custom link, which is provided in the show notes or my Instagram link in bio. That's drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast, all one word. And as I said, I'll include the link in the show notes. LMNT Electrolytes are convenient, evidence-based, and delicious, and get yours today to help support the show. Thank you. This is a quick disclaimer before we start the show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical advice, and please consult with your physician before making any changes to your diet, exercise regime, or medications. Thank you, and on to the show. Elias McCall is an IFBB Pro bodybuilder, U.S. Marine Corps vet, and 2023 North Americans champion in super heavyweights. He's a coach, trainer himself with years of experience helping bodybuilders and lifestyle clients. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. So I'd love to just start with kind of a fun question. Who's your favorite bodybuilder and why? And maybe what have you learned or taken inspiration from them?
Well, that's kind of changed throughout the years, like when I first, I guess, kind of started getting into bodybuilding, I guess I was in high school. I wouldn't say I was really into bodybuilding. I was more just, I wanted to get really big and strong.
Okay.
Because I played football. So cool. I used to watch a lot of like Rich Piana videos and like
nice.
That's who was on YouTube a lot, when I was younger. Yep. He had some crazy methods of the way he did it, but I kind of just picked up a lot of his like eating a lot, advice from him like that. And then that changed as I like started to get more into bodybuilding when I joined the Marine Corps and stuff. I looked up to a lot of like guys. I'd watch like Steve Cook videos and like Callum Von Moger videos and like just like kind of your influencer guys.
Cool.
And then I really started to get into it. I was following like Flex Lewis when he was competing. The year I really started watching bodybuilding was the year I competed, and Sean Roden won the Olympia. It was that year.
Okay.
So I was watching guys like Phil, Sean, Ramy, those guys. So, but I mean, that answer, like, it differs, man, because I just looked up to a lot of different guys as I was like, once I did my first show, came back from deployment, I was like, I really want to get my pro card. Like, that's my goal. So yeah, I eventually got with Cameron, and then I just watched a lot of guys that were at the top of the sport, watch what they were doing, and just mimic that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
that's
really cool. I really had like a single guy I really looked up to.
Yeah, totally. I get that, absolutely. And going back a bit, like, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like, and what brought you to the Marine Corps?
Okay, so rewind a little bit. I grew up in Georgia. I was born in Texas. Okay. Mom was in the Marine Corps. And my birth father, he was I think he was in the Marine Corps at the time, or the Army, I don't remember. But she was in the Marine Corps. They got divorced, or they separated. She moved to Georgia. My mom moved to Georgia. So, and then she remarried, and that's like my dad I grew up with. So I grew up in Georgia, or basically raised there, all the way till I was 18, northern Georgia, in a place called Woodstock.
Okay.
Grew up, was really active kid. Like, I was always outside, and then when I wasn't outside, I was like playing video games, just doing different things like your normal boy. And played football growing up, and then when I graduated high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I like applied to a college, got accepted, and then I really didn't like I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I had like no direction on where I wanted to go. And I guess my mom kind of saw that. So she set up like a meeting with a recruiter without telling me. She's like, just go and talk to him, you know, just hear him out, talk to him, see if it's something you want to do. So I sat down, I listened to what he had to say, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna do this because I have nothing else, like no direction on what I'm gonna do and like where I'm gonna go. So um I ended up agreeing, and then before you know it, I was shipping out to boot camp beginning of August. I graduated in May. So mid-August I shipped out to boot camp.
What's the name of the
From
Marine
there,
Corps college program again? The like
like if
officer
you're in,
OCS? Did you do OCS?
no, I enlisted. So
Oh, okay.
I right out of high school. Yeah.
Got
So
it.
OCS is for officer candidate school for
Yeah.
people that have either graduated college. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. If you've graduated college, then you can um, go to OCS, and then if you get selected, obviously become an officer and you pass. And then like Marines that are enlisted, if you have 4 years of college or there's a different program called MECEP too that you can. If you get accepted to the program, you go to officer candidate school, you pass it, and then you go to 4 years of college. They basically pay you while you're going to college, and then once you graduate for your 4 years of college, and they pin you as an officer.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it.
there's just different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my
Yeah.
best friends did OCS while he was in college.
Yeah, because I know there's ways to do it while you're in college. You can like go to OCS. So basically, you have that out of the way. So once you graduated, you're already in, and then you can go and start finish everything else you need to do.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. It was like in the summers. He went, I think, after
Yeah,
sophomore summer and
yeah,
junior
sounds
summer.
about right. That sounds about right.
So how long were you in the Marine Corps?
Just under 8 years.
Wow.
I I'm technically still in until
Oh, okay.
mid June. Yeah, so mid June I'm technically still in. I'm kind of in this period of where I'm like doing an internship and stuff. They still pay you until then, and then
Cool.
they kind of like release you early to go kind of set yourself up so you can get a job lined up and everything. So
Got it.
it's a good program.
And where were you deployed?
I just went to Europe. I went to a bunch of different places in Europe
Cool.
when I did a ton of different places.
Yeah. And do you think that's helped you in bodybuilding, like the things you learned from the Marines?
Yeah, the Marine Corps has definitely shaped me into who I am today. You graduating high school, you're not a man yet.
Yeah.
You're still a kid. So throughout the years I was in, I picked up a lot of the good traits. Still a lot of discipline in you, and just helps you develop. If you take everything that the Marine Corps gives you, and you continue to add value to yourself, it will really develop you into where you want to go in life as long as you take it serious. It's just case to case basis. Everybody's different the way um, they do it. So I took it with how the structure and the discipline of the military instills into you, and then I brought that into bodybuilding. And I think that's where I kind of was successful because I just did everything that I was taught and I just brought that over into bodybuilding.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your service. That's really cool. Um,
Thank you.
and when did you kind of mentioned starting bodybuilding in high school, but like what got you into bodybuilding? Why did you start? And well, lifting at least. And like, how did that develop over the years?
So I started lifting in high school because I played football. I think I started like lifting in like 8th grade when I was in middle school.
Wow.
And then obviously like into high school. And then obviously joined the Marine Corps. So still gonna be into working out. Um, and I don't know, I just kind of like got into it. I was like, I'm not working out to just stay in shape for work, and I'm not working out to like play a sport anymore. So I got into bodybuilding. I was like, I want to give it a try. I've always wanted to be really jacked and like I wanted to be really strong. So I think it just went really hand in hand on like what I wanted to do. So gave it a shot and I really liked it. And then from there it just took off.
That's cool. And so when did you start competing?
I did my first show in 2018, deployed after that, after like a week or two after the show.
Wow.
And then got back. Me and Cameron started working together. And then I did my next show in August of 23, won that show, and I did North Americans, got my pro card
Wow.
like a month after, or 2 weeks after. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so how did you find Cameron and it seems like you've been working together like 3 years now. And what's that been
We've been
like?
working together since 2018. So,
Oh, wow. 6 years.
yeah, long time.
Oh,
Yeah, long
wow.
time.
How did you find him and what's it been like working with him?
So, some people that I knew from back at home in Georgia, because Cameron's out of Georgia. Um, one of my friends was getting coached by him. So the coach I had at the time wasn't really good. I didn't think I was going to go anywhere with him. So I talked to Cameron, and then he was talking to me. Uh, we were just talking, and I had nothing to lose hiring a new coach.
Yeah.
So I gave him a shot, and everything worked out. I just put my trust and faith into him, and I'll never get a new coach. I would never step in the other direction. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's very professional. He's a great friend of mine, and we have a great relationship as well. So I think a lot of people, they can't really it's got to be a business thing. Most of the time it's business, but for me, with Cameron coaching me, it's also a friendship. We have a good relationship, and I think we click very well. I like his methods with everything he does, and how he's just not it's not always about just, growing, competing. It's also how can we do this the healthiest way possible? How can we make this long term? And then he doesn't neglect other parts of your life. He's like, if this is going to hinder this part of your life, maybe this decision that we're making isn't the best right now, and maybe we hold off. So I just think I just don't think there's many coaches out there like him. I think he's like one of
Yeah.
a kind.
Yeah. It seems like he
So,
really cares about all of his athletes
oh, absolutely.
deeply.
He puts his heart and the soul into all of his athletes when he's competing. When
Yeah.
they're competing, he's phenomenal. Great coach.
It's really cool because he's obviously blown up so much in the last few years, and you've been with him from the start, but it seems like that aspect hasn't changed for him at all.
Oh, absolutely not. He's from day one. Obviously from day one, he's gotten better, but
Yeah.
that aspect of his professionalism and the way he carries himself, and the amount of effort he puts into, it doesn't matter who you are, how great of an athlete you are or how bad of an athlete you are, he puts the same effort into everybody.
Yeah. That's really good to hear. A lot of coaches just focus
very
on
hard to find.
Yeah.
That's very hard to find.
Yeah. That's great to hear. A lot of coaches just focus on their top guys and kind of neglect or send the, weekly WhatsApp message and not much else to the rest.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
What was your prep like for North Americans? Talk us through it. What was the story? The good, the bad, what you learned.
And so that prep that was my first prep, really. The first show I did, it was 12 weeks, and my coach didn't change my diet for till I was 3 weeks out, from day one. Yeah, I was just, and I didn't know, this is my first time starting bodybuilding and following a meal plan or anything when I decided to compete. So I didn't, I had no clue, check-ins. I didn't know anything,
Yeah.
you first start all that, you kind of getting it explained to you, and the whole process. And, I didn't do check-ins or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I kind of went into the show with a blind eye and just did it. Had a great time, and I really enjoyed it. So that's why I did it. I continued to do it. And then when me and Cameron, we'd been working in off season for so long, and then it finally became time to prep in January of 23. I was like, you know what? I've been in off season for so long, and I'm going to put everything I have into this prep, and I'm going to do everything I can to turn pro. That's my goal, and I think we can make this happen. So starting in January, just all the way, and the shows were in August and September 1st. So, that's a long period of time. That's like
Yeah.
long time, 6 months, 7 months. And it really wasn't like, I guess it's pre-prep, we're kind of just starting to pull off a little bit of body fat, keep me full during the periods. And then as we started to get further into it, like April, May, that's when we really started to dig more. But the whole prep was kind of like, let's dig a little bit, dig for a couple days, refeed, dig, refeed. And then those periods of digging would get longer. Refeeds would get, sometimes we'd do 3 or 4 refeeds a day and I'd eat 1,000 grams of carbs a day. Like,
Wow.
and then the dig days were, my carbs never got below like 300. Like he had me in a great spot. And I think that was because we were working so long together and we got my foods in such a good spot in the off season.
Yeah.
He was able to just really like figure me out, and because he only really knew how to make me grow. So it was just him like learning my body during prep. So us starting early set us up for success. There was one point during my prep, obviously I'm just, he sends me the plan. I do everything on the plan, I'm to a T. But there was one point, I think in the beginning of July or end of June, I got bit by a tick. And I thought
Mm.
I got, like, long story short, I got bit at work, went and worked out, and then went to shower that night. And I found a tick on my leg. Thought I had Lyme's disease because I got like this bullseye, and Lyme's disease is like a big thing in New Jersey with deer ticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So went and got tested. The doctor said I probably had it because I had that bullseye mark, and that's like a clear sign that you've contracted it. Started antibiotics, and like think this is only like 8 weeks out from a show, and I'm on antibiotics. Like this like the worst thing you can do. So started antibiotics. I told Cameron, and like I was at that point, I was like, I think we're gonna pull out of the prep. Like I don't think this is gonna work out,
Yeah.
especially if I do have Lyme's disease. So me, Cameron, and Nick talked about it, and we decided to just keep pushing. Because I was just afraid the antibiotics were going to affect my look and stuff. So we kept digging, started the antibiotics. I think I was taking them for like 18, 19 days. Went back, got tested. They said I didn't have Lyme disease. I was good. I got
Good.
tested multiple times to make sure. And I just stuck. That was probably the worst period because I was super depleted. And at the same time, the antibiotics I was taking just made me feel like dog shit
Yeah.
on top of um, cardio and like everything else I had to do. Just so didn't feel great. That was the worst. Um, and then once I came off, like gladly the entire time my digestion was fine. I had no issues
Good.
there. Um, and then obviously, you get closer to the show, you just extremely depleted. Your legs feel like cement. And, I had the normal experience most people have when they're really digging. And that was the first time I'd ever felt that way because it was the first time I ever got lean like that. But I think the whole prep went great other than that like small little hiccup.
Yeah. That's very scary. Lyme disease. One of my best friends, he actually got it in college, and it was left undiagnosed and misdiagnosed. And he actually had like dementia, and like memory loss and stuff like that, like a
Did he go
20-year
get
old.
tested and they say he didn't have it, or?
Yeah, initially.
Right.
And it was horrible.
Because I had got tested when I got bit and then I got tested like right after.
Yeah.
So like before I was even taking the antibiotics.
Yeah.
So, if I had got bit, I'd assume it would have popped up like, okay, you have Lyme, it pops, you have it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got tested then before I took any antibiotics. They said no, took the antibiotics, got tested again, and they said I'm fine. So fingers crossed, I don't have it. So I
Yeah.
guess I don't really know.
Yeah.
I feel like by now, almost coming up close to a year.
Yeah.
I feel like
You would know by now, I think.
yeah, because I've looked at like when I got bit, I like looked into it a lot, for symptoms and like what would happen, and like everything else bodybuilders do, inflammation. You're just adding inflammation to your body. So I
Yeah.
figured by now, if I had something, um, something would have popped up
Yeah.
like an issue. So
Yeah.
fingers
Between like
crossed, knock
water,
on.
water and blood work and everything, you would have noticed something.
Yeah, absolutely. And post show, I had a lot of water in my legs for a while, just because, that kind of stuff happens. But and at that time, I thought I had it, but all that fell off eventually, and I didn't really have any like bad symptoms. That I have a friend that has Lyme's disease, and I talked to him about it, and he said you'd have some bad symptoms. You'd be so
Yeah.
lethargic. You'd have like some kind of joint pains, like pain somewhere.
Yeah. So you did a regional show to qualify, or you were already qualified?
No, I
Sorry.
wasn't qualified. I did a regional show mid-August to qualify me, and then won that
Oh yeah,
show.
I remember that. I remember Nick posting about it. Yeah, you looked crazy at the regional. I was like, holy shit, this guy's gonna do very
Thank
well
you.
at nationals.
Thank you.
And then what was like, talk about nationals. What was it like for you? Your first time at a national show, winning your pro card. Like, what was that whole experience like?
I mean, I didn't know I just treated it like a normal show.
Yeah.
Went in the same way. I was confident in everything, and I went in and just did exactly what me and Cameron planned to do, and it went with the best. I was definitely the lightest super heavyweight up there, because we hit a point in prep where I think I was like high 240s, almost 250, and we added in some compounds, and I've never taken some of those things before, so I guess I just responded well. And my body weight, I was getting leaner and harder, and like looking better by the week, and my weight just wasn't moving. So we originally planned to be at like towards the top of the heavyweights, and I guess it worked out for the best, and I ended up being a super heavyweight. And I guess it did, because the guy that beat me in North Americans that won the overall, he was a heavyweight. So, I guess being a super heavyweight ended up in our favor.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the overall was like. Who ended up winning the overall?
Kennedy.
Ken.
Yeah, he's one of my. I knew him like way before we did that show. I'd been friends with him, and we'd been talking about leading up.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And like, what was it like afterwards, like winning the pro card? Cameron was probably obviously ecstatic. How did you feel? How did your family feel? What was that?
Oh man, I was so happy. I was just like, because honestly, I went into the show not expecting anything. I really didn't. I would just like, I'd seen a lot of those guys. Oh, these guys are big. These are big dudes. So yeah. I was like, what happens. I hope I went in to win, but my goal was to get first call out, and let's compare and see what I need to improve on. If I need to improve, we'll see what happens. So I went in just confident as normal, and ended up working out for the best. And I was ecstatic when I won, and tried to contain a lot of that, and it really hit me. And it's very motivating, when that happens. But even though when you win it, you're back to the bottom. You go back to the bottom, and it's back into a long off season for me to kind of get where I need to be at the pro level.
Yeah. How tall are you, and how much did you weigh on stage?
I'm 5'10", and I weighed, I think the morning of the show, I was 232.
Wow.
So okay. I think maybe I was pretty damn lean, but honestly, in my opinion, next time I probably could have been a pound or two lighter.
Okay.
So maybe probably could have been 230, maybe even 229. And that's after like pulling water and everything. So I think next time when I go on stage, I need to be like 245, 250 to be real competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, talking about being ecstatic, I can only imagine. I just did my first show just under 2 weeks ago, and it was just a local regional show. But
you did the one in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, T-Neck, the NPC Steve Stone. It was a blast. I had so much fun. Like, I really enjoyed the prep. Like, I grew so much mentally and spiritually, and I love just the routine. But I thought getting on stage would be like just a thing that happened. I wasn't expecting much from that, but I loved show day. I'm a competitor at heart.
That's the best part, man. That is the
Yeah.
best part.
I was a collegiate lightweight rower actually. And so like I haven't competed in something physically since then. That was like,
Yeah, so that's
10,
same way with me,
11
man.
years ago. So much fun. I got to get judged by Steve Weinberger. That was sick. Like just standing up on stage under the lights with these guys next to you and like staring at the judges and like just, man, it was awesome. I had so
Yeah,
much fun.
it's a great feeling. And like you said, you used to be a professional or a rower, so like like you're competitive. So I'm the
Yeah.
same way with like football and stuff. And when I was
Yeah.
in the Marine Corps, I played rugby for a little bit too. So like I had that competitive edge, and so getting on stage and like competing, it's awesome because you get to compete again.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
thing, and you just
And
feel like,
honestly, like it was very similar for me with the refeeds and stuff. Like we were doing most of prep, we were doing 1 to 3 refeeds a week of like 1,000 grams of carbs.
yeah,
And my food never really got below like 3,000 calories. And I was 193 on show day. I'm
yeah,
not, I'm
that's
not your
great.
size. So I
Yeah,
have
it's
a
great to
crazy
be eating so much.
metabolism. Like I'm a week and a half post show now, and my food's already at over 5,000 calories. So
Oh, you're pushing, getting
I'm
big
a
now.
furnace. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great though. That's great to hear, man. And I'm glad
It's
you had a good time.
it's great, but it won't be great in 6 months.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point now. Like food's getting heavy. I'm pushing now, and I'm like every night I get that last meal. I'm like, here we
Yeah,
go.
made it.
And I know it's only going up from here too. So it's like
Yeah.
just got to dig, for the next year and a half. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking forward
awesome.
to it though.
So is that your goal to compete next year or the year after?
Honestly, we're gonna see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be ready next year. Like
Okay.
honestly, just being honest, and like my goal, I want to go on stage and I want to win my pro debut, and I know
Awesome.
that's very like a big statement to say, but so if I got to take another 2 years off and grow a lot, then I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. No,
And I
I,
think it's
I
feasible for me. I
I
just
think you
gotta
can do it.
I
I
gotta,
mean,
gotta
the progress you've
put the
made has
time back
been
in.
incredible.
So it's all about just continue to improve. And if I compete next year, and we're like, I mean, you could win. It's we don't know, but if it's not like you have a good shot, I don't want to do it because that's just I'm 26 and I want to like maximize all my time growing and just building like a great physique rather than going on stage competing and then like okay like let's go again next year and then just wasting time that I could be growing. By the time I hit like 29, 30, I could be on the Olympia stage like regularly if I take the time now and just grow like I need to and put the size on that I need to be competitive. Just
Yeah.
skip all the gratification of competing just to get on stage, be present in the sport. I'd rather just
Yeah.
take the time now, and once I get a little older, then I'll be a little more competitive.
Yeah. It's cool because you're still fairly young. I'm 31. I'll be 32 this summer. And I just started bodybuilding. But you are young, but you've had so much life experience through the Marines, I'm sure. And like you seem to have a level of maturity and like a long-term view of things that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's just how I try to look at it. It's
Yeah.
always like see the improvement and like what's next. Like what can I do now, or what can I do from here to improve to get to this spot. I always look at it there. And my whether or not I ever win a pro show or whether or not I ever go to the Olympia. That's my goal. I'm going to set out to do that and put everything I have into it because this is what makes me happy. I enjoy doing this. And if I just stopped, and I just didn't like set my goals very like short term and shallow, and I didn't focus on one goal. I just wouldn't be happy with what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
set myself with this goal and I do everything I can to get to this goal.
Absolutely. You got to love the process.
And that's what
And,
drives me, and that's what drives me on the days, like when you're in the gym, you're tired after work or, you just, I don't want to train today, and like everybody has those days, it's just like, and a lot of the time you just don't want to go to the gym. So, but you're like, what have I set out to do? Why am I doing this? And then you think about that and you're like, all right, I'm going to get my ass up and I'm going to go.
yep. And how high did cardio have to get for you during that prep?
It's pretty moderate, man. I think for the most time, it was anywhere from 20 minutes fasted, and then it got up to 45 towards the end, and then we started adding in post workout cardio,
Okay.
and then towards like the 2 weeks, 3 weeks out from national or from North Americans, I was we really bumped that shit up to like really peel down hard,
Yeah.
and we were doing like 45 minutes fasted, 45 minutes post workout. So that was high, but that really was like I think it was a period of like 5 days that we were pushing really hard with that
Got it.
cardio. So it was never terrible,
Yeah.
you know. I think we were in a great spot with food and just we were ready so far early, or we were he pulled me down at the right rate to the point where I never had to get to some crazy amount, to the point where there was just like we got to run you into the ground to get you where you need to be.
Sure. Is that daily or 6 days a week, 5 days a week?
Yeah, it was kind of just play it by ear, the way
Yeah.
I think the way Nick does it is very similar to Cameron with let's dig and then refeed, and then on refeed
Yeah.
days no cardio, minimal
Yeah.
steps. Let the body relax, let the body recover, and then when it's time to dig, it's time to dig. And
Yeah.
then you rinse and repeat that whole process.
Did he have you drop fat burners like T3 and Clen on days you refed too?
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
know Nick does that.
we dropped those because I was using Clen, and I just think I'm just one of those guys that doesn't respond as well to it, or I didn't feel it as much because I can be very high strung with like how my brain works. Because
Yeah.
growing up, I had terrible ADHD. I was just like everywhere, man. So I tried some albuterol so I used Super Shredder from Amino Asylum that had
Okay.
L-carnitine, a MIC blend, and I think albuterol. I think it has one more other thing in it, but just a whole bunch of like fat burning things. I would just take an ml of that before fasted cardio, and that just seemed to hit like 10 times better. Like
Okay.
heart rate get up, I'd be sweating and I'd feel great. So I really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on an albuterol inhaler pretty much my whole life because I have asthma.
Okay.
And I love Clen because I can just breathe so much better.
Yeah, when I took the albuterol, it just would hit me, and I'm like, "Let's go!
Yeah.
let's do some cardio." And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
take it. It was just an injectable one, and
Yeah.
it has like B12 and B6 in it too. So, and then with the
Yeah.
L-carnitine, it helped a lot. So I
Yeah.
love that stuff. Like I recommend that to everybody that's prepping. I'm like, hey man,
Yeah.
before you try all this really crazy shit, just try this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's smart. Yeah. I'm now that I'm done with prep and like dropping a lot of that stuff, it definitely feels harder during my leg days to like recover between sets
Yeah.
because of my breathing. So it's like,
Oh man,
no more ephedrine, no more Clen, no more. I still have the albuterol inhaler, but yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, man, all that stuff. When you're in prep, you just have you just have the best cardio. You're like, you feel like your endurance is through the roof. Like,
Yeah.
you feel like you just go start running. You just
Yeah.
feel. And then now, as you start putting the body fat on again, you're like, whew.
Yeah.
Like,
totally. And talk about your training approach, like what is it and how has it changed over the years? And how did you get linked up with Nick as well?
So Cameron and Nick started working together, and Cameron just recommended him. So I was like, you know what?
Oh, cool.
Like, I'm in this thing to win it. So
Yeah.
I was like, let's give it a shot. I got to a point where Cameron was doing my training, and then I kind of did my own thing for a while. And I was like, I have no like method of what I'm doing. I'm just really training and doing my basics, what I think I need to do. So I was like, I'm going to give Nick a try, or I'm going to give Nick a shot. Let's see how it goes. Started working with him, and I really liked it. Man, the way we were training back in 2022 when I started working with him into prep, it really didn't even change much to what it is now. Everything. I mean, we have changed stuff to the point where like we've added in an arm day, and we've added in like certain exercises more for like more arm stuff, more chest stuff, more lat stuff. Like it just mainly focusing on things I need to really grow, which are my arms and my chest and my lower lats. So those are like my big things that need to come up. So we kind of geared training more about like putting more volume in those rather than like my spots that are pretty solid. Like I've got good delts, I've got good quad size. Obviously, everything needs to get bigger, but We just put more emphasis in the areas that need to grow.
Yep.
So that's kind of how the training approach is. It is like how like a wellness competitor, you like wellness competitor ain't gonna be training upper body, but maybe once every 2 weeks or once a week, like it's
Yeah.
the same way with me. I'm gonna focus more on my body parts that are lacking.
Right. And have you always been like a low volume, high intensity type guy? Is that what you prefer?
I prefer both, man. Like I think the low volume, like really intense sets are needed, and I think the high volume is needed too. And
Hmm.
like everybody is different, or like nobody knows the exact formula that you need. Like, oh, training high volume is better, training like low volume is better. Like Dorian Yates grew off of low volume, like super intense sets, and Jay Cutler would do like 12 to 15 reps for everything he did, and they were both
Yeah.
huge.
Yep.
So like you can't really say. So I think just a mix of both, like I'm not going to be doing sets of 20 on a hack squat,
Yeah.
so I'm going to aim for usually probably like 8 to 12 reps are my top sets, and
Sure.
I like, and I do think I do steer more towards the higher volume just because, I look at Jay Cutler, right? Jay was never injured.
Yeah.
So, and
True.
you see those guys that were lifting like really heavy. Like I talked to my buddy, you probably know Chris Tuttle. Um,
Yep.
he
I
and
had
him
him
and
on.
Evan Santapani trained like animals, like super heavy, like crazy stuff. And Chris got hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I don't want to do. And I don't want to
Sure.
end my career for a pec tear or a quad tear or something crazy. So I push myself really hard, but I also set like boundaries with myself, like when I'm hack squatting a lot of weight and I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be something I'm going to hit from like maybe somewhere between 7 to 10 reps. If I start to get like 3 reps and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting this past 5, I'm going to stop at 5 and like, I'm not going to just keep going. So I really like, I just try and stay really like present with myself when I'm training to, like if I lift the dumbbell off, and I'm like, holy shit, that's heavy. I'll put that thing down. I'll drop the weight and I'll get something where I know I'm going to get 8 to 10 reps.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Makes
injuries
sense.
are a big thing, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've had my share, mostly carryovers from rowing, things like back spasms and stuff like that. Um,
you're an
and
athlete, where, the
yeah,
injuries.
it's debilitating,
Yeah,
mentally and physically.
exactly.
What you mentioned taking some compounds in prep this for North Americans that you hadn't taken before. What has your approach to PEDs been, and maybe how's it changed over time?
Mine's always been what my coach tells me to do, and
Yeah.
I also do obviously kind of when they tell me to do something, I usually ask, and if I haven't done it before, I'll say, why are we doing it like this? Like,
Mm,
is this normal? Like when we
smart.
first started T3, I asked, hey, is this a normal dose? Is this high? And I also did a little like research myself just because, I like being knowledgeable on that kind of stuff. And I'm not just gonna be like, he's like, here, take 10 grams of test, like, well, why should, like, I want to
Yeah.
know why I'm taking something and like, why not why am I taking this much rather than this, So,
Yeah.
I think my approach and Cameron's approach is more like less is more, and let's
Hmm.
find the sweet spot. Let's not just throw in 2 grams of tests just for the hell of it, but
Yeah.
like, how much could we get out of 700 milligrams, rather than that, and that's just me throwing out random numbers, but
Yeah.
you
Less
know,
is more.
yeah, exactly, and like you look at the guys at the top and like a lot of them, like even like Chris Bumstead, like those guys, they're not taking a shitload of stuff like you think they
Yeah.
are, and those are the best guys. So like, why would somebody with like decent genetics need to take all this crazy amount? Like you can probably get away with less if everything else you do in your life is good. Like your food's exactly where it needs to be, your training exactly where you need to do, your sleep is where it needs to be. Drugs aren't going to supplement all those things because food, training, and sleep are like those are your core foundations of growing as a bodybuilder, as well as like you being in a good mental state, like you got to keep your mind healthy because when you're not in a good spot, your cortisol levels can rise, other things can wreak havoc in your body. So I just think those things are more important than drugs, because
Yeah.
I've seen people. I know I have myself. When Nick, and Cameron first started working together, I was cruising for all the way into prep, and I was growing just from the training Nick had me from like 150 mg a test, from
Wow.
the training, sleep, and eating. I was growing, like I was
Crazy.
progressing. I was like squatting more than I'd ever squatted. So
Yeah.
like if that doesn't say something, and that's just not like my genetics. Like I'm not some crazy freak,
Yeah.
it's that's to everybody, if everybody has all those things, three things where they need to be, I think everybody can make a lot of progress, and not just focusing on like how many drugs can I take, how much more can I add in, like less is better always.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Everything has to be progressive. And I think people undervalue food and how much
Exactly.
of a
And
difference that can make.
sleep's a big
Yeah.
thing. Like, you
Yeah.
talk to competitors and you're like, yeah, I got 6 hours of sleep. I'm like, what? Like, why? Like 8 hours, man. Just think about
Yeah.
like when you sleep, you take 8 hours of sleep. How great is your day? Like you don't need to drink coffee. You take 100 mg of caffeine before you train. You have a great workout. And then like I've had days where, when I was working, um, I got to get up at like 4:30 a.m. I got like 4 hours of sleep. I have to drive an hour to work. I got to work all day till 5, then go to the gym. I have to drive an hour to the gym, and then 20 minutes home. I need to take like 500 milligrams of caffeine to be alive to train. And I was at that point one time, and it was just awful. So
Wow.
I'm in a great spot now with like sleep and everything. And I've just tried to dial that in as I've progressed. And, I think sleep is very undervalued with people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
undervalued.
I just did a home sleep test with this company Lofta, which is really cool. They like send you a home sleep test. You get your results the same day because it's all digital. You don't
Yeah.
have to send it
You wear the
back.
little watch with the thing on your
Yeah.
chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
checked it.
And I had very mild sleep apnea. I had like 3.6 events per hour. And I think
Oh
technically,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But
I had one
I
too.
still want to try the CPAP because my good friend had the same exact amount and he said CPAP helped him immensely. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
man. I had it bad and I didn't realize it. It was great in prep. My sleep was great.
yeah,
I didn't need it. And then after, when I started putting on like all that size really quick,
yeah,
it was starting to get bad. And my wife's like, "Your snoring's bad." Like,
yeah,
so I
that'll
went
do
and
it.
got tested, and I think I had like 40 events in an hour. Yeah.
Wow.
So I got the
Nice.
CPAP, and I was like, felt like a new man. I'm
I
like,
bet. Yeah.
yeah. And you can
Makes a
see on
huge
the,
difference.
yeah, man, it's if you need one, you need one, you know. And if I just fall asleep on the couch, like I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel like I haven't been breathing for 20 minutes.
Mm,
It's when I sleep without it, I can just tell. Or if I fall asleep one night and I don't put it on, I can tell when I wake up. I'm like, fuck, I should have slept with that last night.
yeah. When do you think you'll be done with bodybuilding? Like, what do you think? Yeah. When do you think you'll be done?
When life tells me I'm done, whether
Yeah.
that be I need to stop due to health reasons, or I need to stop. Well, that's like it's like my last thing I want to have to stop because of,
Yeah.
I want to stop because I'm done.
Yeah.
But like you never know, an injury. But my goal is, I'm not even gonna say I want to win the Olympia because that's such like a far fetched thing. I don't think I'm gonna win the Olympia one day. I'll just leave it at that. But like you never know, and like you never know where life takes you. So I mean, my goal is I want to place top 10 at Olympia, and then I'll be very satisfied with where I'm at. And then wherever life takes me from there.
Yeah. That's great. And what scares you the most about bodybuilding with regards to health? Like, is it kidneys, heart, injuries?
I mean, all
For
of it,
me,
man.
it's the neurological. Like, my Alzheimer's runs in my family, so I'm like paranoid of doing anything to worsen that. But
Absolutely, I get
what's it
that.
for you?
I mean, obviously, me, it's internal health. That's
Mhm.
because that's key for me. I don't want to die when I'm fucking 50, 60. My
Yeah,
goal, I want to live a long time, and I think that's very possible if you do it the right way and you're very adamant and you're very on your health. To
yeah,
me, that's number one. If you don't like, I would never. If there was some signs where you're like, like if you keep pushing this is gonna be risky. Like it's not safe. I think I would stop because I don't think I would never. At the end of the day, I mean, even when it is paying your bills, I don't think your life or your taking years off of your life like that is worth competing, you know.
Absolutely.
As much as it may fulfill you, it's not worth leaving the earth early, leaving your family, you know, if you have kids or like the wife, you know, that's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I value my health more than anything, you know, and my sister, she passed away in January, you know, and that like, you know, you don't really, if you've never like really went through somebody like very close to you dying, and like I had a lot of friends in the military pass away and from like suicide and other things, you know, and those were big eye openers. But like when my sister passed away, that was just like, that was my point where I was like, oh my God, like we're not immortal. Like we're not going to be here forever, you know, and you don't really think about those things. You just live life and you
Yeah.
don't think about death. You don't really think about like how long we're going to be here. And to me, that was an eye opener. And I started to think like, you know, like life's short, you know, you never know when life's going to go. So, I mean, I'm going to live life to its fullest and I'm going to do what I enjoy doing, which is bodybuilding. But like I'm going to put my health first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really sorry for your loss. I can't imagine.
Thank you.
But it's seems like you have a very healthy perspective about it, and it's
Yeah.
taught you a lot. Well, thanks so much for coming on. This has been excellent, Elias. I really appreciate your perspectives and hearing your story, and thank you for being so open and honest. I'm sure the audience will love it as well. Where can folks find you and reach out to you if they want to connect with you for coaching or anything else?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I appreciate you having me on here. It's been a good time talking to you. You guys can find me just on Instagram. That's like my main thing. I'm trying to get more into YouTube. I posted like a short recently, but I've recorded some videos. I just haven't got to editing them and posting them. So I'm gonna get more into my YouTube now that I have a lot of time. And then my coaching, I have a Google form that you can fill out in my Instagram bio. And then if for some reason you guys can't get to it, just shoot me a message. I get back to most of my messages. So, and then just follow me on Instagram at Elias McCall _.
Okay, great. Thank you, Elias. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me on, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the show. You can find the Scott Mize Show on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Please leave a comment, like, review, or share the podcast with your friends or followers. It helps more people find the show.